Hello, this is iPersona here, also known as the Disadvantaged Asian, and today we'll be talking about the New Delhi bus rape case. First off, I'd like to say that this will be a rather long commentary and therefore will be split into 4 parts. Part 1 will be called The Case, Part 2 Review, Part 3 Opinion, and last but not least Part 4 from here on out. So what it is that apparently this girl was a victim of a brutal gang rape, and normally I wouldn't create a commentary about this because firstly, you don't have the real facts. Secondly, it's so far away in another country. Not that it doesn't concern me, sure it does, but you just don't have the truth or you do not have the hard facts. And if you don't have such things, blatantly saying certain things may end up with serious consequences. However, the circumstances now are such that this person has been transferred from a hospital in India to Singapore, which is my home country, and has been put into intensive care at Mount E Hospital. Now that she's in Singapore, there has been more information, and thus I have enough information to actually do a talk on this, a commentary. And basically I would like to tell everyone what I know, which is most of it is the truth, and newspaper articles that has been in our newspaper called the Straits Times, and I'll be reading to you certain sections for part 1, which is the case. And basically the first newspaper article is on December 28. As of the posting of this video, sadly she has passed away, but I would like to go through the full case review, and from here on out you guys will not only get my opinion, but you guys will also be able to understand certain things and how certain things work, and hopefully you guys will come out of this more enlightened and you will have a better take on this issue. Okay, so first, on Friday, December 28, 2012, on top of the news, page 3 of the Straits Times, there was an article called the Delhi bus rape victim in critical care at Mount E. Pictures of all newspaper articles will be given in a link when I have the time, and you can go and confirm it. I won't read all, I'll choose specific sections and then we'll move on. So firstly, the article starts with the victim. I'll quote from here: "The victim of a brutal gang rape that triggered mass protests in the streets of India remained in critical condition last night as doctors at Mount Elizabeth Hospital, also known as Mount E, battled to save her life. The 23-year-old paramedical student was flown into Singapore from New Delhi, where the attack occurred last week, to seek further medical treatment here. She has already undergone 3 abdominal operations and suffered a cardiac arrest in India." Mount Elizabeth Hospital Chief Executive Kelvin Low said that in a statement yesterday that a multidisciplinary team of specialists was doing everything possible to stabilize her condition. As at 7 p.m. she remained in extremely critical condition, he said. The victim, who has not been named, was put in a Singapore-bound air ambulance at about 2 a.m. yesterday. She was accompanied by her parents, 2 brothers, and a team of Indian doctors led by Dr. Yatin Gupta, head of the critical care unit at New Delhi's Safdarjung Hospital, where she was treated earlier. I'd like to pause here for a while and I'll give my take on this. Firstly, in case you guys didn't know, I have, or at least my father is a doctor, and he has close contacts with people at Mount E. And although now she has already passed away, I would like to say that honestly I knew she would pass away due to the information my father told me and how serious her injuries actually were. This is actual information from the doctors working on her case at that point in time. And I'd first like to state that although you guys may flame me or whatever, I don't mind. I'm trying to tell the truth here, but bring her to Singapore was a political reason. I was intrigued at why she was brought to Singapore, so I actually asked my father, and that's what he told me. In the later newspaper article dating to about December 31st, which is the day I am going to post the video There was a short article that it was politically motivated, but if you were well read, like my father is, he actually saw it beforehand, and so he told me it was politically motivated. And when I read the article that it was, I was in shock. So basically, there is a reason why she was brought to Singapore, and I'll explain later. But from the section I've just read to you all, the only thing I would like to mention is my father knew her condition, and he knew she would not live no matter what. And yeah, he told me so because I asked him to, and sadly she did not, even though she fought very hard to stay alive, but it was not meant to be, and she has sadly passed away. So I will continue now and continue reading from the article. The Indian cabinet made the decision to fly her and her family at a government cost to Singapore based on the advice of a team of government and private doctors. The group arrived at Changi Airport shortly after sunrise yesterday and were whisked off to Mount Elizabeth Hospital off Orchard Road within minutes. The victim arrived at the hospital's intensive care unit, also known as ICU, by 9:05 a.m. and was quickly attended to by medical specialists. Security was tight at the hospital, favored by well-heeled patients, with each visitor screened before being allowed into the ICU. Police officers were also seen at the ward later in the afternoon. A source who met the victim's father and two brothers yesterday told the Straits Times the family is shell-shocked but thankful. Aside from the trauma of the rape, they also have to get used to the idea that they are now in a foreign land, said a source who asked not to be named. These are simple, rustic people who have never dreamt of boarding an aircraft, much less traveled to a foreign country in an air ambulance. He added that the father, who is in his late 40s, repeatedly expressed his gratitude to the Indian government and Singapore for facilitating the travel and treatment. The father said he is reassured that the best is being done for his daughter and the rest lies in the hands of God, he said. Now I'll pause here once again and I will give my take on this. Firstly, as I've said earlier, there's a political reason of flying her to Singapore, and the intensive care unit is basically where, if you guys don't know, is where they house critically ill patients. My father works in the ICU sometimes, and yeah, basically the patients there are highly severe conditions, such as if they are seriously burnt or been in an accident and are critically endangered, they put them in critically ill or sick, they put them in the ICU, whereby they will be constantly checked upon and reviewed. Their condition will be reviewed their condition will be reviewed constantly and updated, because, well, they are in critical condition as it is, and therefore great care must be taken when treating such patients. Okay, so then after that, well, all I can say is that honestly it is going to be real stressful on the parents, because I mean, firstly, later on in the article, let's say, because firstly, they haven't traveled at all. Secondly, they're traveling under stress, because firstly, their daughter is in critical condition and they're moving to a foreign country they have never been to, and they're moving there not to sightsee but to help their daughter. So honestly, when he said he is reassured that the best is being done for his daughter, he can really rest assured Singapore will do its best and will do so for every single patient that enters its hospital. That I can guarantee. We'll elaborate more on that later under a topic under review and opinion because Singapore actually does have medical tourism, although it's not stated, and we do have excellent medical services. That's why we have medical tourism. Last but not least, I would like to conclude the article now, and I will continue. The Indian High Commission here has provided them with chaperones, mainly to help them travel from the hotel to the hospital. Several Indian officials, including the Indian High Commissioner to Singapore TCA Raghavan, visited the victim and her family at the ward throughout the day. The victim was raped on December 16 by 6 men on a bus after she and a male companion boarded it to go home after a movie. The suspects, who have been arrested, allegedly raped her, then stripped her before throwing her and her male companion, who was also beaten, out of the bus. It sparked days of protests, including violent clashes with protesters demanding justice for the victim. The situation ebbed only after 47-year-old police constable Subhash Chan Thoma died on Tuesday morning from injuries sustained during the protests. That concludes the article. I'll give my last take on this small section. And what I would like to say is that, well, it's stated in the article that she was raped on December 16 by 6 men on a bus. And then she was raped before being stripped and thrown off. Basically, it's heartbreaking to read about such thing going on. Honestly, all of us are human beings. We all deserve the same and equal rights. I don't see why some people have more rights than others and some have less. It's not right, first and foremost. Secondly, why rape a person? I mean, come on. You must have nothing better to do to actually even think of doing such things. And yeah, it's basically immoral. And well, if you actually do something like that, you're no better than a dog, you know. You're just a sexual predator or something. Like, if you want to, I don't get why you would want to rape someone. I mean, if you want to have sex, just get it from a brothel or prostitutes who are willing to have it. I mean, what fun is there to actually rape someone? I just don't get it. It's immoral, firstly. Secondly, you just degrade yourself to a status that no one wants to be. And it not only is traumatic to the person who is at the receiving end of the rape, it sticks with her forever, you know. Even though she has passed away, if she lived, it would be there forever. Not only will she have to go through rehabilitation, she will also have to overcome the trauma which sometimes will never cease. Flesh wounds will heal over time, okay? But wounds of the heart or wounds to your emotion and psychological wounds, sometimes these things never heal, no matter how much time you give them. So honestly, these people should be persecuted. It's best that they are culled like animals, because their actions shows that they are animals. Their instinctual desires overrides their consciousness, you know. It overrides their mental capacity to even think of the cause and effect and the consequences of their actions has on other people. They only care about themselves, and therefore they could do such a thing. Honestly, I like to say that Singapore has Singapore's newspapers. I'm not sure. I can't remember the exact source I read it from, but I remember very clearly. I read this that Singapore does not allow too graphic content in their newspapers because, if I'm not wrong, long time ago, I can't remember where I read it, but there was an article somewhere that say that Singapore disallowed too graphic content such as too much blood in their photos. I'm not sure about this. I am not quoting anyone. It is just something I think I read about. I may not be entirely correct. Those of you who know better can correct me, but if I'm not wrong, that's what I read. And after knowing roughly the more in-depth story of how she was raped from my father, it is much, much, much worse than what is stated in the papers. For those of you international audience who are listening to this commentary, I don't know how much your media restricts violence and gore in your newspaper, either graphically or verbally, but I have to say that Singapore's newspapers is keeping that part of what happened in the rape away from the audience. And you can say it's a good thing, you can say it's a bad thing, because after all, a lot of people do read newspapers, and let's say a child reads it, it's not right. The child may have certain trauma after reading it. It may be too graphic, and well, basically I will tell you what really happened. I won't tell you all, but I'll give you a hint, a glimpse of what actually happened, and from there you should be able to understand how bad it really was. Okay, and those people have already been arrested, those perpetrators, and they'll be put on trial most likely. How to say? A slow death would be pleasant for them, I guess. So, well, I don't think society these days actually would tolerate torture, but they should be put through some kind of intensive interrogation, W/O, with or without torture involved. It should make them feel some remorse at least, and make them feel the pain she went through, although I don't think this would be accepted socially. So just give them a cyanide pill or something. At least if you hang, maybe you live for a few seconds, but if you were given a cyanide pill, I think that pain won't be enough to cover for what they have done, but it would be the most amount of pain in the shortest time, in my opinion, rather than just sedating them with injections and killing them that way. A cyanide pill would be the best option, in my opinion. And yeah, that's how they should end their lives. The court should let them take their lives themselves. That should be the first option, followed by the second option, which is giving them a cyanide pill. To make things worse, right beside that article is a smaller article that is titled "Another Woman Gang Rape." So I'll read that article too, and then we will go on to part 2, which is the review. The article goes, in New Delhi, 10 days after the medical student was brutally gang raped in the Indian capital, another woman was sexually assaulted and dumped in South Delhi. The woman, aged 42, told the police she was gagged, sedated and raped in a car by 3 men while on her way to Delhi from neighbouring Uttar Pradesh state. The victim was found lying on the road on Wednesday night by a passer-by who called the police, who have faced flack for failing to keep the city safe for women. The latest incident came as students from activists held fresh protests here yesterday to push for tougher laws against sexual assault and justice for the medical student, aged 23, who was flown to Singapore for treatment early yesterday morning. Some 200 protesters tried to march to the India Gate monument but was stopped by police wearing riot gear and armed with tear gas and water cannon. The protesters dispersed by evening. The federal government said yesterday it would publicly shame rapists by putting their photos, names and addresses on the official websites in a bid to combat sex crimes against women. The campaign will begin in New Delhi. Junior Home Minister Rantanjit Pratap Narayan Singh told reporters. Meanwhile, the New Delhi government has decided to double the number of buses on the night service from 42 to 85 and to deploy home guards on the buses. Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, at a meeting of chief ministers from across the country, asked that special attention be given to the safety and security of women. He said the government is reviewing laws related to sexual assault and examining the levels of punishment. The emergence of women in public spaces, which is an absolutely essential part of social emancipation, is accompanied by growing threats to their safety and security, said Dr. Singh. There can be no meaningful development without the active participation of half the population, and this participation simply cannot take place if their security and safety is not assured. He said the law should expeditiously deal with the 6 men accused of raping the student. Indians yesterday were further incensed by remarks made by lawmaker Abhijit Mukherjee, son of President Pranab Mukherjee. He said that many of the protesters were not students but dented and painted women, a phrase used by mechanics who mask rust on used cars with coats of paint. His sister criticized him, saying his comments were a bit of a shocker and that her father also disapproved. Okay, so I have read through the whole essay without giving my take yet, so I shall give it now. Firstly, another woman gang rape. Shortly after that, I don't know, but it feels like someone's trying to make a point here or something, I don't know. But the frequency of rapes in India is very high. I'll read another article that has a report on how frequent it actually is, but this is not something trivial. We should take into account of what is happening and should do something about it. It needs to stop. Well, it won't stop, as in rape will never be zero, but the numbers now are just too high and it needs to be decreased by a significant amount. You can't change things overnight. That is the way of the government. Laws cannot be rebuked overnight. Systems cannot change in just one day, but mitigation and support can be given over time, and things will change for the better if we actually put in the effort and time and make these issues known to the government. The government saying that it will publicly shame them by putting their photos, name and addresses on official websites. Well, it is a countermeasure, but the damage has already been done, and these men who did it must have enjoyed doing it, or else they wouldn't have done it, and therefore shaming them, I mean, I don't think it will make much of a difference. It is like, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most serious punishment, this is like 0.5, I would say, because it's like, you're just shaming them, you're not really doing anything yet. So, it's like the lowest of all the punishments that you can actually give them, the lowest being setting them free, which, well, should never be done. Yes, they should never be set free. So, they should be, well, basically killed. Although I don't have the right to order someone to kill someone else, and it may sound too vulgar or too violent, but honestly, they enjoy doing it. They're not suffering from any trauma right now. Whereas the rape victim, this time she's alive, she will have suffered that trauma for her whole life. She may even get a stigma on her, and basically she's in a lose-lose situation, whereas those guys are win-win, and it will be a triple win, a triple cap if they're not even persecuted or given a sentence of some kind. So basically, that is not enough. The government should do more. And although I have to commend them for doubling the number of buses and deploying home guards, that way it will be more, there will be more security, it will be more secure, and it would do the women more good and give them a more peace of mind when they go out. I can't say that they shouldn't go out at night because, well, liberty is for all. You can choose your actions, just that you have to bear the consequences. And if it's that unsafe for you to go out at night, then try not to. It is not a no whereby you can't, but try not to. And you also have to commend the government for saying that they would review laws related to sexual assault and to examine the levels of punishment. This should have been done much further back, a long time ago, and it's overdue, seriously overdue, but at least they are taking it into consideration right now. And those remarks by Abhijit Mukherjee, I don't know what to say. He's like, it sounds like as if he's supporting the rapist. If so, he should be equally guilty as them, because the way he speaks, or at least from what I read, I feel that, well, he's supporting them firstly, and secondly, why would you support a rapist unless you yourself are a rapist? Right? I mean, logically thinking about it, no commoner should support a rapist because there is no need to support them, there is no reason to, and honestly, if you support them, you are just as bad as them because you're saying raping is okay, it's good, and all that sort of thing, which raping someone is not. It is the worst, one of the worst kinds of acts that you can ever do against humanity. It should be considered a social crime, crimes against humanity, like war crimes. And yeah, this guy should be prosecuted too. I think, persecuted, sorry. And I think he's using his position, being the son of the president Pranab Mukherjee, to actually say such things and thinking he will get off the hook. Honestly, so what if you're the president's son? The law and justice should be fair. They should give him a trial too, although I don't think it will happen. But even his sister has more sense than him to criticize him that his comments were a bit of a shocker. If you dare to say something and you have a sister, if your sister was raped, if his sister was raped, I don't think he would be saying the same things. He would be lobbying for women's rights right now. And he'll most likely want the guy to be killed as well, or basically given a trial and sentenced to whatever serious punishment he is deemed to receive. By saying this, it is really inconsiderate of him, considering that he also has a sister. If he has no sister, well, that's bad enough. But he has a sister and yet he says this, and his sister even criticizes him. I don't know what he's trying to make, you know. He's like trying to muscle people around with his statement and the authority he has, making use of his father's status. And he doesn't even take into account that he has a sister, you know. I mean, let's say about you guys, what happens if your sister was raped? Theoretically, okay? Theoretically. You will be so flaming mad. I doubt anyone can even hold their anger in check. I have a sister myself, and that's why I cannot understand, no matter how hard I try, why he said it. Okay, so I guess that's my take on it. We will move on to the next article, which is A few days later, if I'm not wrong, December 30th or 31st. I think it's 31st. So hold on a sec. I will have to change my articles. So I don't want you guys to hear any static. So hold on for 1 second, please. Okay, so now I have the new article with me. It is dated December 30th, 2012. Well, basically, on the front page is the headlines in Singapore right now. And yeah, I don't know, there's like 4 pages of information given on the rape victim's death, and basically a review and account of what actually went on. And basically our Singapore editors and foreign editors articles on their thoughts. And yeah, you know, basically what a editor would write on a case like this. If I'm not wrong, it has a lot to read. I won't read everything, but I'll post all the pictures in the links given in the description below. Go and read it. The video will go on to 2 hours if I actually read everything. Right now it's already half an hour, so I don't think you guys would stay around to read so much, but to hear me talk so much, sorry. So yeah, as of the 30th, no, I think she passed away on the 29th of December at 2 a.m. However, on the 29th of December, newspapers were printed at 4 a.m. and therefore there were still articles telling people to pray for her. And as sad as it is, there was really no time to change the articles at that time. I might be wrong about the printing time if I'm not that sure, but my dad told me she died before when we received the newspaper in the morning. I asked my dad how about her condition, and he told me that she had already passed on. Then I asked him why the newspaper still had things praying for her, and that was on December 29th, and he said because the newspapers were published I can't remember whether is it before or after, but essentially there was no time to change the articles, I guess. So it came out that way, and on December 30th, which is today, the article I'm looking at right now, which is today, yeah, they now talk about her death, which is 1 day late, but it's a full-blown report with many pages here. Basically, the things I'd like to touch on is the first article is titled, "Will the rape victim's death be in vain?" Honestly, no. I think, well, change will come given time, and it is just one really tragic incident. Her death won't be in vain. There are already people lobbying for women's rights and for the government to take action. Given the scale of people lobbying, I think the government will take action. Her death will not be in vain. It will only be in vain if the perpetrators are let loose and released, or the government should not walk the talk and retract their statements on improving security for women and the reviewing of their laws. Second article is titled, "India in Mourning as Body is Flown Home." Her coffin was carried out of Hindu casket in Geylang Bahru last night, which is December 29th at night, and flown home. Her life could not be saved despite the best efforts of 8 specialists. Thousands pour into the streets of Delhi on news of rape victim's death at Mount E. There's too much to read actually, and Yeah. And then the third article was titled Family Pin Hopes on Daughter for a Better Life. Her father sold land to pay for her studies, and she gave tuition to help with fees too. It's basically a family of high interdependence on each other. The bonds between the family members were very strong. And it's really sad. Sad can't describe how it is, but it's really, it feels like it's unfair for her to die. And it seriously is one tragic incident. The fourth article is titled 6 Now Charged with Murder. And if convicted, they face the death penalty. This is good. They are already convicted. I mean, even if they are released on the streets, I would bet my whole life savings that some good Samaritan would kill them. I can bet that. And I don't think anyone would seriously mind going to jail after killing such inhumane beasts. And if they are convicted, they face death penalty, and yeah, so they'll die, and I think that's the way to go. And I'll read this article because it's on the accused and very little information has been given on the accused, and I like to just read it so you get a more complete picture of the incident. So it says here, Indian police have charged with murder of the 6 men accused of the gang rape of the physiotherapy student who died in a Singapore hospital. If convicted, they face the death penalty, New Delhi police spokesman said yesterday. The 6 come from poor backgrounds. Even so, even if you come from a poor background, morally speaking, you know what to do in a society. You know the right and wrongs, what to do, what not to do. So, poor background is no excuse. 4 of them live in a slum colony in New Delhi. One is a school bus driver called Mental by his friends because of his volatile temper. People who are more volatile get angry or excited more easily. They resort in more physical actions, and which might account for how badly injured she was when she was undergoing treatment. And yeah, Ram Singh, 33, is the main accused in the case, with police saying the school dropout was the leader of the group. The other 5 includes his brother Mukesh, 26, a bus cleaner, a vegetable vendor Pawan Gupta, 19, a gym instructor Vinay Sharam, 20, a bus cleaner Akshay Thakur, 26, and a 17-year-old who works as a helper on long-distance buses and who cannot be named because he's a minor. Now, I don't know about Western side or many other countries' laws or rules regarding rape and sex with a minor and whatsoever, but a minor raping somebody, that's like raping someone older. In fact, that's like he's 17 and she's 23. That's like, I don't know. I feel you have to pity him too. He mixed with the wrong group. He didn't have the understanding that he wasn't brought up to properly understand society's rules. Although they aren't written down, there are rules in society that tells you what to do and what not to do. And yeah, basically he strayed off the right path and he ends up where he is right now. The men had been drinking on the night of December 26 when they decided to take the bus, which had tinted windows and curtains for a joyride. Tinted and windows and curtains, I mean seriously, on a bus. That's like those type of presidential cars that you see on the road whereby they have tinted windows and armored plated doors. They took turns to rape her and beat up her male companion. The police said they stripped her and her friend of their clothes before dumping them on the side of the road on a cold winter night. See, this is called sexual humor, whereby they found fun in not only raping her but stripping her and leaving her naked on the sidewalk in the middle of winter. Winter is like freezing, and if you have no clothes whatsoever, you won't survive more than, I don't know, but given her injuries sustained at that time, I don't think she was able to go to a hospital by herself, and she'll be just laying there in the cold waiting to die. There's something wrong mentally with them, you know. I mean, yeah, they have been drinking, but to drink until you are in that state of mind, considering they're poor, they should be saving their money and not binging on drinks and whatnot. They just don't want a future, like it seems. You're not saving any money. You're not going to have a future that way. If you don't save money and you're poor, what more can you expect to buy? How much more do you expect your life to become better and things to work out for you? After the crime, the four of the suspects went back home where they were arrested 48 hours after the crime. 2 days, 48 hours. 2 days after the crime, before they were arrested. That's, I don't know, that the police system sucks. I mean, 2 days. People who commit crimes in Singapore are arrested in under 3 hours, give or take. Okay, you have to consider that we are small, but still, 48 hours, 2 days, The two others fled the city and were caught in other states of Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. Mr. Hari Ramsharma, the father of Vinay, told television channels that his son should be punished if he was guilty. If my son has done it, the harshest of punishment should be given to him, otherwise he should be let off, he said. Well, he shouldn't be let off, and yes, the hardest punishment should be given to him, no matter what. And now I'll give you the timeline of rape. Firstly, on December 16, the victim and her male companion were sexually assaulted. They were beaten with a metal bar and thrown out of the moving bus 45 minutes later. They were admitted to the hospital that same night. On December 17, the 4 assailants are identified and 3, including the bus driver, are arrested. On December 18, university students hold protests against the incident in Delhi. Delhi's police chief demands the death penalty for people convicted of rape, a crime that currently carries a maximum punishment of 10 years in prison. The 4th accused is arrested. On December 19, Home Minister Sushil Kumar Shinde tells Parliament that he has ordered increased police to patrols on the streets, especially at night. Police use water cannon against protesters in Delhi. On December 21st, police officers arrest 2 more suspects, one of whom is a juvenile, that 17-year-old guy. On December 22, protests in Delhi turns violent, with protesters throwing stones and other objects at police blocking their route to the India Gate Monument. Victim's critical condition victim's condition remains critical and media reports say she is unable to consume food. December 23, more than 100 people, including 60 policemen, are injured during fresh protests in Delhi. December 24th, Indian Prime Minister Manmohan Singh appeals for calm, saying all possible efforts will be made to ensure security and safety to all women in the country. December 25th, a 47-year-old police constable dies from injuries suffered during protests on December 23rd. December 26th sees the India's government orders a special inquiry into the gang rape. A separate panel will examine existing legislation and suggest changes in the laws to make punishment for such crimes stiffer. December 27th, the victim is flown into Singapore with her family for treatment at Mount E Hospital. The Indian government says it will post photos, names and addresses of convicted rapists on official websites to publicly shame them. On December 28th, Indian media reports questions the decision to fly the victim to Singapore given her critical condition. The government maintains that the move was in the best interest of the victim. There are political motivations about this and I'll cover it in a while, but yeah, this is just a cover story. The Indian government is just giving a cover story. Late in the evening, Mount Elizabeth Hospital issues a statement saying her condition has worsened. On December 29th, yesterday, the victim dies of severe organ failure at 4:45 a.m. So, as of now, I would like to say that the papers printed, well, she died at 4:45, not 2 a.m. and therefore, maybe the papers, maybe if I'm not wrong now, that means the papers were printed at 2 a.m. the opposite way. So the papers were printed first before she died. Therefore, they had no chance to change it. And therefore, on December 28th, there were articles in our paper, the Straits Times, saying that we had to pray for her even though she had already passed on. And the article still stated that her current condition was critical when she had already passed on. As of today, 30th December, multiple reports of her death, and yeah, tragic. The other article headlines are thousands take to streets to demand justice, and victim sent to Singapore for best medical care, under which there's a subtitle that says Indian envoy responds to criticisms in India. And the criticisms in India were that they were asking why sent to Singapore, and it says here that response to criticisms in India was that move was politically motivated. I will elaborate more in the next video, which will be on part 2, the review, which I will be most likely reading some of the articles from today's papers. And you have been with iPersona. This has been part 1 of a 4-part review and my take on the New Delhi rape case. This is really very important. I am doing this because I have information regarding it, and since she came to Singapore, this has been any issue that concerns Singapore concerns me now, and since we have taken a part in caring for her, I feel that I would have to have a say in it also. I'll give my take on it since now the issue is it's not only closer to home, it is in home, and yeah, I'll have to say something about it too. Thank you once again for listening throughout. If you have, click the subscribe button, leave a comment down below on what you think should be done to this, and I have to say that I can't conduct any charity drive or anything since I am new to YouTube. I don't know how it works, and I think I'm underage, being 16 years old. So all I can say is it's tragic. Something needs to be done, and for those of you who can do something, please do something. Join and advocate for women's rights if you are able to. And basically, you don't have to go around shouting slogans and all that, but as a passive supporter, do what you can, and I'll see you in the next video. This is iPersona, signing off.